Hope you're doing well. I know in the past I talked about making videos on managing credit. It's one of the major things I want to make a part of this channel. I wanted to do investing, trading, credit score, debt management, a broad range of financial aspects. I do want to get into the future with more with real estate and helping people with that. But this is one of the particular topics that I have yet to tackle and have get into, so I'm going to start making a better attempt at that. I don't want to just fill this channel with only trading. Even though that is going to be the bulk of it, I do want to show that there's other aspects of the financial world that we all should be aware of and, think about in our day-to-day lives, because it does matter. One thing in particular is credit, and particularly how to get a better credit score. Now, throughout your life, whatever it may be, you're going to come across some major purchases, whether it be a house, whether it be a car, you want to plan a wedding, you want to go on a major trip or something, you might need a loan, and you're gonna get financed this loan, and one of the things you're gonna check is your credit score. Unless you could outright pay it with cash, which like most people can't. There's a statistic going around. I think close to like 60% of people can barely afford a $500 emergency in America. So obviously we're kind of screwed on that aspect. So we need to start paying attention more to our credit and managing our debt, or our credit and our debt. Now, I personally used Credit Karma. It's a free app you can get on your phone. It's pretty legit, and I'm not endorsed with them or anyway. So it's not like I'm getting paid to do this. But I think there's also Credit Sesame is another one, and there might be some other ones. But Credit Karma is the one I used. It gives you two of your main scores, your TransUnion and your Equifax. Now, these aren't the exact number to the number. It's if your exact number is let's say 700, on the phone it might come as 693. It's always going to be a little bit off, because it's not going to be the direct one. It's not up to date, accurate all the time. And this app, I believe, updates around once a month. Now, on the app itself, it helps you break down the 6 categories to basically focus on. You have your age of credit, your debt to credit ratio, hard inquiries, payment history, total accounts, and derogatory marks. Now, of these, I would say these top 3 are going to be more important. Age of credit's kind of a hard one to do, depending when you started it. Obviously, the sooner the better. If you're a parent, what my parents did for me is they got me a credit card fairly young to use. Now, they didn't know a whole much about managing credit. I didn't know a whole much about it back then. But just because I've had that card for so long, it's helped my credit score exponentially, because I have a long credit history. Whether or not I use that card or not, it's still active. It's still under my name, and it still counts. Now, I do keep debt on it, and I make those payments because I want my credit to continue. I don't want to be stagnant. I want to slowly continue going up and up and up. Now, if you don't have that, that's fine. It's just something that's going to take time. You still have these other factors that are going to add into your credit score. So keep this in mind, though. The sooner you get signed up for one, the better, but learn how to manage it first. Don't just sign up for it and think you're trying to be ahead of the game. Understand what this means. The next big one is debt to credit. So basically, how much debt do you have that you have to pay off versus how much available credit? So let's say you have a credit card for $1,000 and you made a $500 purchase. So your debt to credit is 50%, because half of it you owe debt, the other half you have available credit. So if you had a $1,000 credit card and you spent $1,000, you'd have nothing. You'd have all debt. You'd have no credit. So your debt to credit score would be very low. If it was 50-50, it'd be in the middle, but you want to keep it probably closer to the average. Most people talk about is around 30%. That's kind of what I hover around. I probably do 20 to 30%. People want to say there's a magic number. The magic number, I would say, is less than 30. Anything above 30 is crazy. You don't need an exact percent. You just need to be in a manageable range. And keep in mind too, the higher it is, the higher the interest payments you're going to be making. So below 30 is the ideal range. And then hard inquiries are probably one of the more notorious ones, and you get those basically every time someone runs a credit check on you other than yourself. So let's say you're applying for a new card, like you have a Discover card and now you want an American Express. You know, American Express does their background check on you, does a credit check on you, you get a hard inquiry. So it doesn't mean necessarily you did anything wrong, but someone's getting into your credit score and checking you out, so that's going to count as a hit. Now, you can check your own credit score, and I believe you can do it once a year for free. There's certain sites that allow that. That is not a hard inquiry. That's more like a soft inquiry, because you're checking your own credit. They still document it, but it's not going to devastate your credit. Hard inquiries will. You know, if you apply for a loan for a mortgage, if you apply for a loan for a new car or something like that, you know, it's going to be a hard inquiry. So remember that. Don't just go out there and just throwing your information and giving it, and people start checking your credit score, because it's going to start knocking it down. You know, think more methodically. Think ahead of what you're going to be doing and who you're going to be giving your information to. Now, the other three, a little easier to manage, I would say, but still, like, be cautious of it. Your payment history is just really, do you make payments on time? And if you can make those minimums, I would advise always pay a little bit more than a minimum, because you're going to help pay it down faster. Because when you make that payment, then they reevaluate how much available debt you have left, and then they add that into your interest payment. So if you keep adding more and more and more, your debt becomes less and less and less, so those interest payments will get smaller over time. But as long as you're consistent, you pay every month, you'll have a good score on payment history. I don't think this is too hard to do. I know there's people that, I mean, in hard times with like student loan payments, mortgages, stuff like that, this gets very difficult to do, but this is important. You have to be on top of your payments. If you can automate this, it might be a good idea, but keep in mind that every month, you know, money is going to disappear from your bank, so understand why. You know, understand why you're going to automate this. It's good to automate it because it keeps this particular score in your credit score good. But it could be scary, because if for some reason you had a major payment that month, all of a sudden you don't have enough money for your credit payment, it could become an issue. So always remember that. Total accounts, a little bit easier one to manage. I myself had 12, I think, accounts at one point, where I just had, and it was like a store card, like a Starbucks card, you know, then like my main cards, like just a bunch of accounts. So that actually brought my accounts score up. But obviously when you have all those accounts, that's a lot of payments. So that becomes an issue right here with the debt to credit, because it's your total debt versus your total credit, not just the individual account itself, it's all of it. So I have 12 cards going at once. All of them I owe debt on, and if they're all close to being maxed out, this big number here starts to hurt. So be careful when you manage that. Now, do you need 12 cards to increase your score? Absolutely not. Like I said, these are a little bit more minor in how they affect your score. These three right here are the bigger ones. But still, if you do have more than one account, it shows that you're verified through multiple creditors, which makes you look good. That's the whole point. If you just have one and that's all you need, that's fine. That's totally okay. But if you want to be perceived better, get just a little bit higher score by having more accounts, you're going to look more trustable. So that's the whole point of the total accounts part of it. Now, I'm not in any way advising people to start going out and creating accounts. Again, think about all of this when you're trying to fix your credit score. And I'll kind of go through like what I went through and how I got to where I am, but I just want to get these basically aspects of your credit score kind of understood. And the last one is derogatory remarks. That's if you had any like these late payments or anything like this, or you had a dispute with a creditor or something like that. Again, these aren't as often, don't appear as often at least, but like if you are someone who has a problem paying your bills and stuff, then these could become detrimental to you. But I myself, like I said, I had around 15 grand of credit. I was always good on making payments. Like I said, I had a bunch of accounts. I did have hard inquiries, which kind of messed me up because I was getting all these accounts at random times. So all those hard inquiries were going in. So that was kind of screwing me up. And then because my debt to credit was so high, You know, that was another big part of it. The only good things I had going were age of credit, payment history, and total. I had the derogatory marks because the hard inquiries, when they were becoming numerous, and then my debt to credit wasn't that good. So one of the first things I did as I started, well, I read a book. I feel like that's how it always starts. But there's a book called Richest Man in Babylon. It's a really good book. I would advise everybody to read that book. It's been around so long. It's been revised a bunch of times. It's even been shortened and simplified, you know, nowadays. But basically, it teaches you how to invest in yourself by saving like 10% of your income. And you basically live off, you know, the remainder. And then if you can over time keep increasing how much you save, and then you shrink how much you live off of, and then you realize, you know, you don't need to keep spending all your money on this frivolous crap when you could save it. Now, other people will have different interpretations of that book and what it means to them. The point is, save your money and invest in yourself. Now, what I took from that is I started using Robinhood because I wanted to pay down this debt, right? The debt is the hardest part of managing credit, because this is going to sound stupid to a lot of people when you think about it, but to get good credit, you need debt. You can't just have good credit and not be in debt. You know, creditors, like, you won't exist to them. You're a nobody. You know, you can't just, I'm 18 years old, I've never had a credit card before, now I'm going to go get a loan on a house. Well, you better hope your parent co-signs with you or something, because you're nobody. You don't have a history. You know, they don't see you. You know, you have to accrue debt. But that's a scary game, and that's how a lot of people get caught up. And me personally, my big thing was credit cards. Like, I was just stupid with money. I was spending money everywhere. I didn't care. And then over time, you know, I learned the hard way that this was a huge mistake. And that's one of the reasons why I do these videos with investing and trading and stuff like that. Is just I don't want people to make the same mistakes I did because I was dumb. You know, I don't want people to suffer like that. But managing debt through investing was basically the key. So I would take 10% of my check just every week and just start investing it in my Robinhood account, and then from that, which is a stock trading account, and then from there, once it built up towards the end of the year, I had like a 25% return or something like that, and I had enough money. I started taking out chunks, and then the following year I was finishing up and doing the same thing. So you could put that money in a savings account and do the same thing. Just understand over time it's not going to accrue as much money. There are other options like using Acorns. If you don't know anything about investing, you can open an Acorns account and it saves the extra pennies from your daily purchases for you. It invests for you. It does everything for you, and all it costs is $1 a month, which is a really good option. Me, I took a more aggressive approach. I actually chose my investments. I actually bought stocks, and that's kind of how I got to this point. Now, with all of this in focus, ideally, to get you all started, to get you all going, if you don't have a credit card or anything like that, and this is where it gets tricky, like, because I don't want to just say go out and do it. You know, if you're younger, you know, talk to your parents. You know, like, help them understand that the sooner you start your credit history, the better. You know, if you're 18 going off to college and your parents are like, well, we'll give you this card with only like, it's only like a few $100, credit limit on it, but just having that and just like going and get groceries or fill up your car with gas, and then making sure you pay off every month, and you always pay more than the minimum, you know, that's going to help you by age like 25, 30, 35, you know, down the road, when you're actually going to start thinking of a lot bigger purchases like a home, moving, you know, getting married, having kids, so on and so forth. It's going to help you in the long run. Next, you know, managing debt to credit. You need debt. Just remember that. You need debt. It's so frustrating that this is how the game is played, but you need debt. But it doesn't mean you can't manage it. You know, try to keep it lower than 30%. Don't get crazy. Treat this like a bank account. If you don't have money in your bank account, obviously you can't buy anything. Just because you have available credit doesn't mean you should be buying stuff. You know, if you're above 30%, pretend you got $0 in the bank. You know, just like mentally think that, because if you start going over 30%, that means your interest payments get higher. That means you have more debt to pay off. That means it's going to take even longer to repair your credit. And repairing credit takes time. Trust me. It took me close to a year. But always be cognizant of that. You know, be smart about it. Don't just get a credit card and think just do whatever the hell you want. Don't do that. Hard inquiries. Think about what you're trying to get a loan for, what you're trying to get a credit card for. Think of how it's going to affect you in the future. Like if you want to get a credit card, you're going to have your credit score checked in the first place. So make sure the credit card you sign up for is something you want and you'll get use out of. That might be airline miles, that might be cash back perks, that might be points perks, you know, that might just be a simple bare bones card. You don't want any extra credit, whatever, this and that. You just want one with the low interest rate, you know, and that's what I would advise, is get one with the lowest interest rate first. Especially those cards out there that have 0% for like 12 to 18 months off the first 12 and everything. Those would be good to sign up for, because then you're not paying interest for a while. But like I said, don't get crazy with that, you know. Adhere to these rules. Don't deviate. But think of things like that, you know. Don't just sign up for a card to get a card, you know. Have a purpose with that card. Do your research. I mean, we all got a cell phone. You could do anything on this right now, and you could research anything. You could look into any card. There's a lot of online sources that review cards, or credit cards, what they're worth, how people rate them, what you get out of them. I mean, I would start looking at those, you know, that way you get a good deal. And of course, some of them are going to be requiring higher credit for you to get them. So obviously, though, if you're just starting out, you're not going to be able to get those really good ones. Like, you're not going to be able to get a black card right away. You have to have all these, you have to check all these boxes along the way before you can even attempt to get that card. But that doesn't mean you have to start out with something crappy the first card you get. You know, get one that's good, that's going to last you a long time. One mistake that, which goes back to my parents getting me that credit card. The credit card they got me isn't very good. The interest rate on it isn't very good. There's no perks with it or anything. So if I could go back in time, I would change that. But since I've had that card for so long, and it helps my credit history out so much, I hold on to it. You know, I only keep a little bit of debt on it. I don't go crazy with it. But managing it is the thing, because I have a couple other cards which I'm debating if I still want to keep them. One is good with points, and one is good with cash back. You know, they actually do stuff for me. The other card doesn't. All it is it's my history. You know, it's just how long I've had it. That's why I say when you look for these cards and you get these hard inquiries and it's going to screw with your credit, make sure you get the right card first. You know, don't play the game down the road. Oh, 3 cards later, I should have got this one. Like, don't get caught up like that. Payment history, like I said, always pay your bills. Pay them on time. Now, there is a better way of paying versus or when to pay it. Most people will pay right before it's due. Others pay right when the statement comes out, meaning like a week or two before the payment's due. It's better to pay as soon as the statement comes out. If you could set up your finances to pay it as soon as the credit the statement comes out, that'd be better. If not, you can still pay it before it's due, but make sure you pay it a few days before it's due, because you don't want to have a past due payment. A lot of creditors will allow like a few days past, but don't do that. Just pay it before. Always pay it before. And as long as you follow up on that, you know, like I said, this is the easier one to manage. Don't get out of control. If you keep it below 30%, you won't have a high interest rate, so it'll be easier to manage. Total accounts. Now, I wouldn't have too many total accounts. Don't do like I did and have like 12. It's unnecessary. If you want to have like 1 or 2, that's fine. Your total account score will be lower, but like I said, this isn't as big as a factor of some of these other ones. You know, these are just smaller factors in how they affect your score. They still matter, and we're talking like a few percent extra in your credit score. It could go up or down. But don't get caught up in trying to have more accounts. It's not going to do much for you. And the last one, derogatory marks. Like I said, as long as you manage the rest of this well, you won't have to worry about getting any derogatory marks. So that's the bread and butter of it. If you pay everything on time, if you don't have too many excess accounts open, if you don't have any hard inquiries, if your debt to credit ratio is good, you don't default on debt, if you have a good age of credit and everything, you don't have a lot of derogatory marks. Now, like I said, there are tools besides the Credit Karma app, but it's free. I mean, and you get 2 of your credit score, the TransUnion and the Equifax. So that's really good. It gives you these 6 criteria to manage, and it even breaks down your credit, shows how much you have, what cards are open, you know, everything. Like it gives you a really good eye, and like I said, it's free. It's a really good tool, so I would suggest you all use it. But with that though, I'm gonna start going forward more with some more credit videos. And like I said, in the future, like, this is something that's evolving for me too, and I'm learning as well. So I just want to kind of share as much as I have, and get people thinking about it, because, you know, at some point, you know, I do want to get into taxes. And if you're trading and investing like me, you're making money in the stock market, you got to pay taxes on that, right? Capital gains. You know, that's another thing I want to get into in the future. But for right now, this is where the focus is going to be on that. So I hope going forward, this is something you guys consider. You know, credit's is one of those things you guys start thinking of as an adult. I mean, whether you're younger, middle-aged, older, whatever, you know, at some point in your life, you know, credit's going to matter. You're going to have to get a loan for something. An emergency is going to happen, and you're going to need money, and you don't have a choice, you know. So try to be prepared for that. Try to think ahead a little bit. So with that, I hope this video was enjoyable for you as all. Always click like, subscribe, share. Comment if you have any questions, if you have any ideas in the future, something else you want to see, let me know, and I'll continue making these videos. So have a good day.